The Monaghan Stages Rally, in association with Mac Fresh Eggs Monaghan.
Welcome back to the second part of the Monaghan Stages Rally, where we will be bringing you the best of the action from the Group Ns, and yes, of course, those popular modified drivers. Prepare yourself for some high-speed action.
In the Group N showroom category, Longford driver Michael Shaw, along with co-driver Liam Higgins, will be hoping to improve on the results from the last round in Mayo. Willie Fanning in his Evo 6 was third place in Group N in Ballina, and he'll be aiming for a top of the class in this event. The father and daughter crew of Pat and Karen Price are regular runners in the Group N. Called from the reserve list, Derek Job and Killian Duffy are another crew that will be battling it out for honours here today after their second place result in Ballina. Swordsbase Mark Courtney, along with his brother Michael, take their new left-hand Evo 7 out for only its second event this year. Newcomer to this class is Christy Carey in his Subaru Impreza, and he'll be pushing hard to keep up with the regular runners. Michael Shaw sets the pace from the word go, and he's the quickest Group N driver over the opening two stages. Unfortunately, this is the last we see of the hard-trying Willie Fanning, as he was forced to retire at the first service due to mechanical problems. This is the very consistent Pat Price in his immaculate Evo 6, recording 5th fastest time on this stage. With the absence of Willie Fanning, Derek Job moves into second place, and will be doing his best to reel in the early pace setter Michael Shaw.
60 over bumps. Go on, go on. Caution 2 left over bad bump. 40 over bad bumps. 4 right. And 5 right, very slippy.
This driver certainly doesn't have any time to wave to the camera, although Mark Courtney does look like he's settling in well in the early stages of the rally. Christy Carey adapted well to the wet conditions in his new car to record 6th fastest time on this stage. On the second run over this stage, Michael Shaw presses on to extend his lead over Derek Job. Pat and Karen Price aren't hanging around, as he uses the whole road to his great advantage while navigating this tight hairpin. Derek is well aware of the job he has to do and is desperate to close the gap between himself and Shaw. Due to an error in tyre choice over the second loop of stages, Mark Courtney slips back to 4th place after stage 6, while Christy Carey is still holding his own. Christy Carey in his Lenmark-sponsored Subaru finishes 5th in class in this his second event in Group N. Slipping from 3rd in the closing stages of the rally, Pat Price had to settle for 4th. But the hard-charging Mark Courtney moved into 3rd on what was a great learning day for him, now leaving him joint 2nd in the championship. Derek Job gave it his all in the closing stages of the rally to finish 2nd in class, but still holds on to the lead in the championship.
Absolute crest jump middle. Repeat, absolute crest jump middle. 150. Keep it at it here. At 150 after this. Don't lift. Crest jump left of middle 100.
It's been a clear road all the way for the Longford duo to win Group N by 20 seconds and now share 2nd place in the championship with Mark Courtney. And the results of Group N: Michael Shaw in 1st, Derek Job in 2nd, Mark Courtney in 3rd, Pat Price in 4th, and Christy Carey in 5th. After missing out on championship points in the last round, local hero Mac McKenna will be on the limit today in his 2-wheel drive Peugeot. But Mac won't be having it all his own way, as the very fast and talented Philip Shaw will be keeping the pressure on the local driver. A popular contender in Class 14 is Enda Keenan in his Keenan Stainless Steel Mark II Escort, with champion co-driver Sean Moriarty on the notes, and seated just 1 ahead of him on the road is his son Desi, who's just home from a round of the 206 Cup. But there are no signs of exhaustion from this young Monaghan driver. Another popular Mark II Escort driver, Norman Armstrong, with co-driver Liam Doherty, will be hoping for a Class 13 win. The pressure is on for this Monaghan crew, who'll be battling it out for Class 12 honours. Mike McQuaid and Victor Fields in their Ferrodo-sponsored escort. Paddy Boyle and Marty Sherlock had a good start to the season with their win in Ballina. No doubt they'll be pushing hard to increase their lead in this championship. Gordon Rogers is eager to do well in Monaghan today. Trevor Lancashire seems to be in fine tune today. It's his first rally since the Roth and Donegal Harvest Rally last year. Another Class 12 contender is local man Jerry Cassidy. With stages centralised around his home patch, he should be well able to punch in some quick times. This local driver, Maurice Moffat, with long-term co-driver Gavin Campbell, are seen to be doing very well in their newly built Peugeot. Fresh from his Class 12 win in Mayo, the young Brian Armstrong gets off to a quick start to record fastest time in his class on the opening stage. Donegal man Robbie Peoples is always a front-runner in Class 11, today being no exception. But with another Donegal crew, Paul Gallagher and Carl Reid hot on their heels, Robbie should be firmly in their sights all day. This low-flying green escort of Peter Rogers is of great entertainment value, but nevertheless a tough contender in Class 11. It's an uneasy task ahead of Brian Corey, who's contesting in his Corey Joinery Mark II in this very competitive Class 15. Donegal brothers Pat and Colin McCafferty keep the pressure on in Class 14 in order to keep ahead of their opponents. Jerry MacDonald and Conor McMahon had to get off to a quick start, but had they been trying a little too hard? Shane McInerney and Thomas Traynor are the pace setters in Class 10, even at this early stage.
100 over, very big jump, double caution on it. Past lane, 100. 100 over, one left, big crest jump, 130. Two left up here, 60. Bad dips into 6 right, deceptive, don't cut.
Cavan man Jerry Smith is off to a flying start and he's waiting around for no man, even if it is fellow clubman Raymond Jury in his similar escort. The downpour on stage 2 left the roads very greasy, which resulted in overshoots and spins for many of the drivers. Mac being no exception, nevertheless, he was still able to extend his lead over the hard-charging Philip Shaw and Paul Gary. Desi Keenan demonstrates just how tricky these conditions are as he slides his new 206 around this junction with incredible control. Enda Keenan gets into the groove here on stage 2 and records a fastest time in the 2.4 category despite this spin. Armstrong now begins to pick up the pace as he adjusts to his new co-driver and the changing conditions. Mike McQuaid struggles to get a grip in the Mark V escort. Enjoying the wet conditions is Paddy Boyle, now up to second in class. Gordon Rogers displays his rear-wheel drive skills. Trevor Lancashire with border champion co-driver Noel Hall trying hard in the RD Autofactor sponsored escort. Local crew Brian McKenna and Cian Curley will be chasing Class 14 honours as we go on board with the locals.
100 bump dip, one right here, 150. And two left and we'll crest jump into a 3 right. 3 right here, crest jumps.
Jerry Cassidy and Martin Brady seem to be going well here, but shortly after this they exit the rally. No major dramas for Brian Armstrong on stage 2, allowing him to increase his lead. Taking this junction in spectacular fashion is Maurice Moffat, who now only competes on selected events. little cautious over this jump is Robert Peoples, who can't take his eye off the game, as Paul Gallagher is hot in pursuit. Peter Rogers on maximum attack in his Top Oil sponsored escort. Local co-driver Hugh McKenna guides Brian Corey over the high jump, but soon the car develops mechanical trouble. Already leading Class 14 is the McCaffrey brothers. They're still giving 100% commitment on this square right. Last year's Class 12 champion Cathal McGlone with Damien Doherty on the notes, debuting their brand new Toyota Corolla in Class 11, and as ever, thrilling the crowd. With correct tyre choice and clean driving style, Shane McInerney holds on to his lead in Class 10.
And 5 left, bumps, pulling outside. 40, big crash jump in a 1 right, 100. 1 right, 100, 40, 1 right, crash jump 100. Crash jump 100, 1 right here.
And so it's back to the battle of the cabin men. It's Jerry Smith we see here leading from Raymond Drury. But Raymond soldiers on with a down in power engine. An aggravated engine misfire causes this major overshoot from Mac McKenna. But nevertheless, the two-wheel drive maestro continues to nurse his Peugeot through the remaining stages. Desi Keenan with his stand-in co-driver Barry McMahon dominate Class 6 and build up a fine lead. Norman Armstrong concentrates hard on his goal to make the top 10. Mike McQuaid flies high here in an effort to catch Paddy Boyle, who lies just ahead of him in Class 13. Gordon Rogers, seen here while leading his class, retired on the penultimate stage with gearbox failure. Every second counts in rallying, and this brief stall may have cost Trevor Lancashire a class win in the closing stages of the rally. Maurice Moffat's entertaining run was spoiled by transmission troubles towards the end of the rally. Brian Armstrong is aiming to net maximum points in Class 12. Robbie Peoples now leads Class 11, and that's thanks to Paul Gallagher, who lost over 10 minutes when the car stopped on the stage with an electrical fault. And yet another retirement. Peter Rogers gets sidelined with gearbox failure. This canine spectator causes Brian Corey to take an alternative line around this bend. The Class 14 trophy looks like it's on its way to Donegal as the McCaffertys continue to extend their lead over the opposition. This is the last we see of Fermanagh driver Jerry MacDonald in all his glory as he retires soon after with electrical problems. Shane McInerney increases his pace as he tries to defend his position from a local contender, Adrian Fox.
Gravel 7 right, 40, 7 left, 7 right, 46 right, 6 right and 2 left. Small crash bumps, 130. 5 left past Leon.
Jerry Smith has been leading the class for most of the rally, but his luck runs out when his engine expires on the penultimate stage. However, his opponent, Raymond Drury, shows no signs of backing down. Here we have the Tie-Definite duo and stage sponsors, Paul McIlvany and Mihal Deary, from the Rock Inn and Master Deary's, but their rally was short-lived as they retired at the end of the stage with a broken gearbox.
Friends.
Glamorous associates.
If you think you can upstage Jill by wearing that, you're very much mistaken.
Society dinners.
You know the breakfast buffet? Eat as much as you like, but from an 8-inch plate. 12 inches.
Nights out with the boys.
How long have we been drinking?
3/4 of an hour.
And fascinating conversation.
Tell me about the lady boys.
I'm Alan Partridge. Friday at 10 on 3.
The Monaghan Stages Rally, in association with Mac Fresh Eggs Monaghan. Declan McKeown adapted nicely to his new BMW Mark III and claimed 4th in class. Ahead of Declan was another local crew, Brian McKenna and Cian Curley, in their G4 Escort. A good result for Brian, who's been absent from the sport for a while. Seamus McCusker drove his heart out in the dome-built Escort and netted 2nd in class despite a broken manifold on stage 7. The class belonged to the McCafferty brothers, who never put a wheel wrong and still had time to entertain on the way to a convincing win in class 14. The battle for class 13 honours ironed out with Conor Curley taking a well-deserved 5th place. Mike McQuaid and Victor Fields finished a high 18th overall and 4th in class. 3rd place went to Paddy Boyle, who was only separated by 4 seconds from Norman Armstrong, whose hard work has paid off as he steals a place in the top 10. In a league of his own, with a misfiring engine, is Mac McKenna, who wins the class by 35 seconds. In the highly competitive Class 12, Terence McHugh and Tony Boyle drove their Escort home to finish 5th in class. With clutch and gearbox problems, the Monaghan Club champion Arthur Kieran's and co-driver Conan McGuire miss out on 3rd place by just 1 second to cabin man Raymond Drury, who was determined not to let anyone hold him back. The Pure Spring Waters Escort of Trevor Lancashire returns to the Hillgrove Hotel a worthy 2nd in class. Just 5 seconds separating him from the winners, Brian Armstrong and Ashley McAdoo in their immaculate Mark II Escorts. It may read 145 on the door, but after being called from the reserve list, John McGettrick and Derek Dean charged their way up to 5th in class 11. An error in tyre choice meant that Andrew Purcell drove his Allied Irish windscreen Civic on slick tyres and still managed to secure 3rd place. This young crew, Gary McPhillips and Mark Tierney, make a late charge but miss out on a class win by just 2 seconds to Robbie Peoples and Keith Stewart in their Mark II Escort. Mark Slowey and Aaron McQuaid suffered carburetor trouble on their immaculate Mark I Escort, but made a fine recovery to finish 5th in class 10. This Corsa is kept well in control on the wet surface by dairyman Robert McDade, who drives home to 4th. Just ahead of them is Gregory McQuillan in their Clonus Shavings-sponsored Escort. Perhaps that should read Close Shave. The lengthy battle for top spot in this class has been between 2 Monaghan Club members, Shane McInerney, who loses out by a small margin of 2 seconds, to the fast and furious Adrian Fox in the Foxhound Travel Escort. Michael Conlon from Clonus survives to take 4th in Class 9 in his Escorts. RD crew Dara and Michael Fay enjoy the run in their newly rebuilt Mark I Suzuki Swift, but they have to settle for 3rd behind this guy, the talented Noel Lappin, who uses one of his own hire cars en route to 2nd in class. A class win for Dolan McGettigan leaves him with a comfortable lead in the championship after this, the 2nd round in Monaghan. And the Monaghan placings, Mac McKenna takes class 13, Brian Armstrong class 12, Robbie Peoples class 11, Pat McCaffrey class 14, Adrian Fox class 10, and Dolan McGettigan class 9. In the highly competitive Quinn Border Championship, RD driver Thomas Taft campaigns to secure max points in Class 3. Current Border champion John Kelly, along with his brother Niall, keep their Corolla on the road and cruise home to an incredible 4th in class amongst the more advanced machinery. In Class 2, Danny McBride leaves Monaghan with a total of 19 points and now leads his class. Leading Class 9 in the Border Series is cabin man Noel Lappin in his reliable Ford Escort. Trevor and Paul Morrow in their highly competitive Class 6 will be happy with their 15 points total after Monaghan. In their little Suzuki Swift, Trevor Graham and Stephen Furry finish 65th overall and lead Class 1. Walker and Martin McCallan survived a day in the changing weather conditions to take third place behind the veteran Winston White. But with a 2-minute margin, no one is going to catch Trevor Graham, who managed 65th overall. Like father, like son, in the Tyrone colours, Stephen and Ronan Dolan have a good event to finish 80th overall. Always very competitive in Class 2 is John Gallagher, but sadly he won't make it to the end of the rally due to mechanical problems. Class 2, which is one of the toughest, sees John Hegarty finish third, but the real contest was way up front between Mullingar man Martin Brown and Donegal man Danny McBride, who are swapping places throughout the event. Danny, seen here, just snatched top spot from Brown in the final stages of the rally by a gap of just 3 seconds. Winning Class 3 is another father and daughter combination of Thomas Taff and Susan in their new Civic Type R. Kieran Henry and Aidan Gannon were the only finishers in Class 5, but yet had a challenging day to finish 73rd overall. Here we see another Monaghan club member, Brendan Comiskey, debuting his new left-hand drive Peugeot 206 with Ashburn's John Egan on the notes. And Julie, they finished fourth in class behind Trevor and Paul Morrow, who suffered from a string of overshoots and spins in the wet conditions. If anyone is trying hard, it's got to be David Smith in the ex-Desi Keenan 106. In only his second season of rallying, the young Monaghan driver scores a worthy second in class behind Desi, who revels in the wet conditions in his Rock-In-sponsored 206. Pat Doherty, after surviving a roll earlier in the event, goes on to win Class 7 in his escorts. And so the final results with the classes is Brian Doherty in Class 7, Desi Keenan takes Class 6, Kieran Henry takes Class 5, Thomas Taff Class 3, Danny McBride Class 2, and Trevor Graham takes Class 1. Join us next week as we head back to Ravensrock for exciting action in the Get Connected Championship. Don't miss all the action, right here. The Monaghan Stages Rally, in association with Mac Fresh Eggs Monaghan.